For those of you who are serious about making money and learning how to trade, make sure you subscribe to this channel. In last night's game plan, I made it very, very clear if the SPY gaps up, which it did end up doing, the focus is going to be to buy call options. In terms of the levels that I gave you to buy call options, it was at the previous closing price if we gap up, and also that 587 resistance. In terms of the strategy that we were planning to use, it was the breakout and retest. When the SPY gaps up above the resistance, or if it breaks above a resistance level, we're going to be looking to buy call options when it drops back down to those levels that I gave you. Was there a confirmation at the levels? And the answer is yes. I'm going to be walking you through the exact confirmation that we ended up using on calls to make a very quick 60% profit return in less than 5 minutes trading. Make sure you stay till the end of this video because I'm going to be breaking down the new game plan we are setting up for another amazing trading opportunity heading into the market tomorrow. Let's get straight into the analysis. So in terms of the overall game plan, I would really encourage you to go back and watch last night's video. It's going to add a lot of value in terms of your education. Now, in terms of the overall game plan, it was very simple, man. I made it very, very clear in terms of breaking down the chart on SPY based off the daily chart patterns that we were seeing on the SPY. It is reacting bullish at this make or break level. The make or break level was right here at the previous closing price. You can see this 580, 560 level. When it reacts to support, the SPY quickly goes up to the next resistance level, which is all the way at 589. And I made it very, very clear that the SPY did end up going below that key previous closing price level. It did end up reacting as a resistance level. It did end up dropping. However, it did end up spiking back up. And in terms of that pattern that I pointed out, I said this is a bullish pattern. The SPY is trying to form higher support. It's trying to turn that previous resistance right here into support. And I said the pattern was bullish. Candlestick on the 30-minute chart facing to the downside. Candlestick on the 30-minute chart facing to the upside. What does SPY do on that overall pattern? It tends to trend up. That pattern formed on Friday, and the SPY ends up gapping up. That bullish pattern that I've been teaching you worked. And the crazy part is that exact pattern that we used to confirm that it's likely going to be overall bullish along with the daily chart formation, go back and watch last night's video, ended up forming in the pre-market. And this is the exact reason why I bought call options at 10 a.m. If you were not in these call options at 10 a.m., you do not study the videos and you did not watch last night's game plan. This was a free money opportunity. So in terms of the overall pattern, you can see right here, you have a candlestick facing to the downside, and then you have a candlestick facing to the upside. This is a 30-minute pattern. When this pattern forms and we are at a key level of interest, we're going to be buying call options on the opening of the next 30-minute candlestick, which is why I was in call options at 10 a.m., man. This is the same exact pattern that I've been teaching you many, many times throughout the past year, man. And I will continue to speak this pattern into existence and manifest it because it's going to keep on happening. But you have to use these 30-minute candlestick patterns at the levels. The level is a foundation. If you trade without a foundation, you're not going to be able to make it. So the level is considered a foundation. And then in terms of the confirmation of that foundation, it's the 30-minute candlestick patterns. As you can see right here on 11/11, go back throughout the past videos, man. I made it very, very clear. This is a trend reversal pattern that has never failed me when buying call options at my key level. This pattern right here is literally identical to the exact pattern that formed today, man. This is the pattern that formed today. This is the pattern that formed on 11/11. I take advantage of these patterns at my levels. That's what you have to do as a trader. You have to have a foundation, and then you need a confirmation at that foundation, right? So in terms of my deck of cards, my main confirmations is that 30-minute candlestick pattern chart. So the pattern worked once again. Again, it's very, very simple. 30-minute candlestick facing to the downside, 30-minute candlestick facing to the upside. Next 30-minute candlestick is going to be bullish. So when that next 30-minute candlestick opens up, start to buy and scale into the dips on the 1-minute chart. Start to buy and scale into the dips on the 1-minute chart. Same exact pattern, just at a different level on a different day. It's going to keep occurring. So you need to use this pattern as a confirmation at the levels I give you. And the crazy part is the pattern literally formed on Friday and the SPY literally gapped up. 30-minute candlestick facing to the downside, 30-minute candlestick facing to the upside, the SPY gaps up. And I literally told you it's forming higher support. And then as it's forming higher support and as it's reversing at the gap, what have I been telling you throughout the past 40 days? It's been consistently reversing at the gap, SPY gaps up, 30-minute candlestick facing to the downside, 30-minute candlestick facing to the upside. We bought call options at 10 a.m. That was the confirmation, man. That's how you have to trade. You need to use the levels as a foundation, and then you need a deck, right? So for some people, that's candlestick patterns, also indicators, right? A confirmation at the overall level. Right? So with that being said, I ended up buying these SPY call options right here, man. I made it very, very simple. Let's buy 587 calls at 60 cents a contract. The play is calls. Do not be a degenerate. Made it super simple, super clear, man. And this was the exact same pattern that we used on November 11 to capitalize on another phenomenal win on calls, man. So it's going to keep on happening. But you have to show up and capture this pattern, capture this trend at the levels. Do not blindly buy into confirmations. You need a foundation. Once you have the foundation, which could be a key level, then you use the confirmations, which could be indicators, which could be the 30-minute candlestick chart patterns that I've been teaching you. That's what tends to work best for my trading style. And then 5 minutes later, I'm selling at 92 cents a contract. Do you understand? I'm making nearly a 60% profit return in the span of 5 minutes using last night's game plan, using last night's key level, using the overall 30-minute confirmation. The crazy part is I literally spoke of the 30-minute candlestick confirmation in last night's video that was forming, and the same fucking pattern formed at the gap for a gap close reversal. It's like, dude, if you weren't in calls at 10 a.m., I'm truly disturbed. Everyone should have been in calls at 10 a.m. So like I said, man, we had plenty of members absolutely crush it on that particular trade. We had a new member who recently joined, Anthony. He ended up making a whole month's salary with those call outs, man, and GROAR called calls as well. So with that being said, we absolutely crushed it. And then later on throughout the day, I did end up having a phenomenal win on calls. I'm going to be breaking that down. So in terms of the levels that I gave you to buy call options on the gap up, I made it very, very clear, focus on the higher levels, which was the previous closing price for a gap reversal. And the 30-minute candlestick confirmation was there. Again, you had to use the pre-market. For those of you who trade without extended hours, you're missing out on the best patterns, man. The pattern literally started in pre-market. 30-minute candlestick right here facing to the downside, and then at market open, 30-minute candlestick facing to the upside. It's the same pattern that formed on November 11th, buy the dip next 30 minutes at 10 a.m., and then sell into the rip, man. So that pattern literally happened on Friday as well. It's the same pattern right here, right? And then SPY gaps up. It was an absolute no-brainer to be on calls. I would really encourage you to go back and watch last night's video for educational purposes, man. So anyways, in terms of the next level that I gave you, this was the higher resistance level. I'm going to disable extended hours. And I'm going to walk you through this trade. So there was another confirmation on the 30-minute candlestick chart at one of the levels that I gave you. I made it very, very clear this 587, we had resistance right here towards this 587. That was the next level above the previous closing price. And I made it very, very clear that if we're reacting bullish, we'll be on pace for 589. And I did also say that that's the starter zone for puts. And as you can see, once we hit 589, a red bearish 30-minute candlestick formed along with an hour of resistance in lower highs. And then the SPY had a nice drop. And then this previous resistance reacted as support for the overall break and retest. So I did end up buying call options once again at the higher level, man. So we ran up a quick 60% return on calls at the best level. And then at the second upper level for the breakout and retest, there was a resistance right here. The 30-minute chart told us that the next level was going to be 589. So once we broke above 587, I told myself if this quickly drops back down to 587 and I see a 30-minute confirmation to be buying call options, I'm going to be buying calls, right? So in terms of the overall 30-minute candlestick confirmation for me to buy calls, I used the breakout and retest. So there was resistance right here, gap and go, breaks above resistance, drops back down. In terms of the 30-minute candlestick pattern, this was very simple. This was the pattern that I used. So if you look right here, you have this green bullish candlestick facing to the upside. Then you have this red bearish candlestick. Next 30-minute candle, it has a dip and it closes strong and bullish. And if you look right here, the same exact pattern ended up forming, right? So you have a green candlestick facing to the upside, green candlestick facing to the upside, red bearish candlestick, Next 30 minutes, green and bullish. Next 30 minutes, green and bullish, right? The main difference was it did not have such a massive drop, but I had the level. You understand? The pattern repeated in a similar cycle. And I was able to buy call options towards the exact lows because I understood it was very, very unlikely for it to drop lower because we were holding for such a long period of time. And that previous resistance was likely to react to support. So that was the second win I had a row on calls. And in terms of that trade, you can see right here, I ended up buying these 588 calls at just 33 cents a contract. And we were selling these calls in the 50-cent range at the speed of light. I was adding into my winner at 34 cents a contract, sold at 49 cents a contract. We had members selling in the 50-cent range. We had a member get out at 48 cents. We had a member getting out in the 50-cent range, man, 56 cents. We absolutely crushed it, man. So for those of you who used last night's game plan with the simple 30-minute candlestick patterns that I taught you, man, everything I said and spoke into existence, repeated to an exact T, man. All you had to do was show up and capture the trend and capture the patterns at these simple levels, man. I told you, gap up, gap and go. I gave you the levels, oversold level, gap reversal. The 30-minute chart pattern was there in the pre-market to the normal trading hours. And then I told you the upper level where I'm going to look to play the breakout and retest is going to be 587, because if we break above 587, we're going to 589. And I literally said it's likely going to drop towards 589, wait for it to drop back down to 587, buy the dip for the breakout and retest. And the 30-minute pattern was there. I broke it down for you, man. Do you see how simple trading can be, man, if you simplify it? So wait to trade the best setups at the overall best prices. That's the overall recap on the day. We crushed it. We had many, many wins. GWAR did a phenomenal job as well. With that being said, in terms of the new game plan for the SPY, for those of you who stayed till the end of this video, man, you're in for some real money-making information, man. Let's get into it. It's going to be short, simple, and sweet. The market is setting up for a phenomenal opportunity. Let's get straight into it. So the game plan is going to be nearly identical compared to yesterday. That's just how the daily chart is setting up. So I'm going to break this down for you, and I'm going to explain to you the levels of interest, right? So in terms of the daily chart pattern that I'm seeing, if the SPY is opening up flat, or if we are gapping up, right now it is currently gapping up like we ended up doing. So with that being said, if it's opening up flat or if we're gapping up, the game plan is to buy call options at the previous closing price. The previous closing price is going to be at 588.15. Now, do not just blindly buy into calls. Use the 30-minute candlestick patterns that I've been teaching you. Use the confirmations that work within your overall deck, right? So the reasoning behind this same trade idea again is the SPY has been on a strong pattern of the gap and goes working recently, along with the gap close reversal trading strategy, right? So those are some confirmations within my deck with the short-term trends. But another reason is take a look at this daily chart pattern that I've highlighted out for you, right? So in terms of the daily chart confirmation, you can see right here, you have this red bearish candlestick, you have this red bearish candlestick. Then you have this green bullish candlestick in the middle, then you have this green bullish candlestick in the middle. And then you can see right here, you have the same exact pattern. You have this red bearish candlestick, then you have this green bullish candlestick in the middle, right? So what tends to happen on the next day of the pattern? The next day, it tends to bottom at the previous closing price or slightly under the previous closing price. The next day, it tends to bottom at the previous closing price or slightly under the previous closing price. So if we're opening up flat or gapping up, the main play is going to be to buy call options. In terms of the levels that I have for you, the previous closing price at 588.15, and then slightly under that, we're going to call it, let's say, 587.50 zone. Now, in terms of the next levels, where we're going to be heading to, as you can see, if you take a look at the 30-minute chart, it's going to tell you exactly where we'll be heading to. The next level, if we're buying calls at 588 and slightly under, right? The next level is going to be 589.30. A break above that is going to send us towards those highs. And those highs would be right here towards 590 to 591 gap reversal level, right? So in terms of the overall profit take zone, it would be towards 590 to 591 would be the potential take profit zone. Based off of what I'm seeing on the overall daily chart, this can close either way. This can close strong or it can close weak. But either way, if we're opening up flat or if we're gapping up, it's going to have a strong move to the upside to ideally at least 590 to 591 range. But in terms of the close, the daily chart pattern is showing that it can potentially close weak or it can close strong. So in terms of that situation, to determine that if it's going to be a bullish or bearish close, if we're gapping up or opening up flat, you're going to need to understand the breakout and retest strategy. if the SPY is breaking above the resistance levels and it's dropping back down like it did today, and it's maintaining above the previous resistance levels like it did, forming the higher support, forming the bullish 30-minute candlestick patterns at 588, at 589, at 590, right? Whenever it breaks above a resistance, once it drops back down to the previous resistance levels, if it's reacting as support and the 30-minute candlestick patterns are bullish and we're having a floor at those 30-minute levels, it's going to try to close strong. Now, in terms of a break of trend would be that it's no longer having the breakout and retest, and it breaks out, drops back down, and reacts as a resistance. Meaning, let's say if we broke above 590, then we went to 591. And then it dropped back down to 590, and then it started to go under 590, spike back up, form lower highs, form bearish patterns, trends flip and bearish. It's going to try to close weak, right? So that's something that you have to determine. I'm seeing two things that can happen, but we know how to trade at these levels. We know how to determine if the bulls or bears are in control with the confirmations that we're using at these levels, along with the breakout and retest, along with the breakdown and retest. So it's not going to be a problem for us to determine whether we're going to be closing strong and bullish or bearish and weak. I just wanted to bring awareness to that, right? So that's what you need to be looking for. If we're breaking out above resistance levels and then we're pulling back down to the previous resistance, retesting, reacting as support, it's going to try to close strong. If one of those previous resistance levels drops back down to retest, cracks, spikes back up, forms lower highs, reacts to resistance, it's going to try to close weak. So write that down. Now, if the SPY gaps down, the game plan is going to be to buy put options towards the market open. And then later into the day, there's likely going to be good opportunities to be buying call options at the oversold levels. So taking a look at the daily chart pattern, you can see right here, we have this green daily candlestick closing in the middle. We have this green daily candlestick closing in the middle. The next day, the SPY ends up gapping down. And the high of day was literally at the market open. Then we had a strong sell-off. Then we had a recovery later into the day, closing towards the middle. With that being said, this is what I want you to be aware of. So if we are gapping down, I need you to be aware of the following. For the bears to take full control and shift this trend up back to bearish for the micro, this is what needs to occur. We need to go under 586.40. Right? We need to go under that key level that I explained to you in terms of last night's video, this 586 to 586.40 zone. If the SPY goes under this overall level, it's going to begin to flip bearish. In terms of another level you can keep an eye on, 587. If 587 is reacting bearish, we're forming lower highs, we're dropping under, and then for a true crash, for the bears to truly be in control, we just need to stay under 587, and we just need to crack through that 586. If that is occurring, we will be on track to likely go under 584. Then, in terms of the oversold levels, where I'm planning to buy call options, it's going to be towards 582 to 580 zone, right? That would be the overall game plan for call options. Focus on call options later into the day towards the market close. Again, it's going to be a little bit difficult to capture the overall bottom on that. In terms of measuring the overall move, I would say 4 to 5 points below the market opening price, right? So just off measuring similar cycles, you can subtract 4 to 5 points from the market open price. Now, in terms of another thing I wanted to mention on those put options, for the play on puts, you can look to get in towards market open if you are seeing bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations in the pre-market. If you are seeing a bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations during normal trading hours, look to buy put options. If the SPY is struggling to hit new highs on the day within the first hour, you're going to want to look to buy put options. If the SPY is cracking through key support levels and it cracks, spikes back down, reacts as a resistance, forms new lower highs, you're going to want to be buying put option during the market open and during the middle of the day. For the call options, you can measure the move 4 to 5 points from the market open, potential bottom. Later into the day, a lot easier. Use strong bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmations at the overall levels, which is going to be 582, 580, and 577 for call options in the middle of the day to end of the day for a bullish recovery into the overall close. And if that happens, where this candlestick closes like this, and we do gap down, it's likely going to be a great opportunity to even swing trade calls for it to explode back up later into the week to fill the gap if we do gap back down. So write all that down. That's the game plan. Now, for those of you who are serious about making money, If you would like to trade alongside with us, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. You gain access to our secure private organization. You gain access to our chat community. You gain access to all of our real-time trade alerts. We are known for buying cheap, far, low risk, out of money option contracts, the zero dates. We're known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains within the overall market. We have the highest win rate in the game doing this in terms of the unique trading alert system that we've created. We don't use stop losses. The contracts are so cheap, so low risk, so low barrier to entry that you can put in your entire position size as your max risk per trade. Meaning, if the contracts expire worthless and go to zero, the most you lose is what you put in, which could be your max risk per trade, a couple percent of your account. Therefore, we don't need a stop loss, right? Another cutting edge part about not having a stop loss is when we are down 30 to 50%, we get to decide if we want to sell, if it's not reacting the way we want it to, if we don't think it's going to go in the money later, we can just sell, cut the play, and move on to the next one, right? Also, another cutting edge part about far the money option contracts is we have the entire day to hold the contracts to go in the money, right? We've been in trades, especially during the market open, where we're down like 30, 40, 50%. We hold, an hour later, it goes in the money, we're up 50%, 100%, right? These contracts are going to be generating the biggest percentage gains within the overall market, and this is the lowest barrier to entry. So we've truly mastered the best style of trading that you can possibly master with real money. Rich people prefer to trade this way, and they prefer to hold longer for the big wins simply because we are paying less. Since we're paying less, that means we're risking less. And these trades also offer the highest risk to reward ratios and the biggest percentage returns. And we have an extremely high win rate in the game doing this unique trading strategy. So with that being said, for those of you serious about trading alongside with us, inside of Team Roar, you're going to see there's 2 multi-millionaire traders within the overall chat, alerting all their plays within real time. If you want to get access to our secure private organization, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. We have many members who are making $500 a day. We have some members who are making $1,000 a day. We have some members who are making 5 figures a week. And we have some members who are making over 6 figures a month day trading zero-date option, right? So it's very cutting edge when you get to decide if you want to cut a loss, since we don't have the stop loss on. And when we hold the dead plays, the ones that drop like 30, 40, 50%, and we decide to hold instead of cutting the loss, 70% of the time, they go in the money later on throughout the day. Meaning we could be down 50%, we hold the trade, later into the day, it goes in the money for the biggest percentage gains. For those of you who want to experience something different, who want to experience something new, who want to experience the best trading style, it is going to take time for you to adjust to our platform. Like I said, we're known for holding our trades for longer periods of time, and we're known for winning big, the biggest in the game, percentage-wise, right? And you're probably wondering, like, you know, if you're putting in your entire max risk per trade as your entire position size, right? Just a couple percent of your account. If that's what you're risking, how are we able to make such big dollar gains? It's because the percentage gains are so large. We're able to put in small amounts of money and still make good dollar gains along with big percentage compounded growth on our accounts because the percentage gains does the work for us, along with having a high win rate and, of course, just time on your side. As time goes on, the account grows, right? So I just wanted to bring some understanding to that. It's very cutting edge to have a strategy that allows you to be successful, and you don't even need a high win rate in a sense. That's the most strong foundation you can have, is a strategy that's very low risk, is a strategy that offers the biggest percentage gains within the market, the highest risk to reward ratios within the market, cheap, low risk, low barrier to entry, and it really allows you to be successful without having a high win rate. Every single month, we have 3 trades where we make 1,000%. So if we're up 3,000%, we can literally have 30 losses in a row, and we'll still be green on that overall situation. And we're also known for adding to winners, right? So we're known for adding to winners. We don't like adding to losers. In terms of adding to winners, right? We like to add to winners because when we win, we tend to win big. So when we're up a small amount, like for us, 5, 10, 20%, very small gains, we add to the winners. We set profit stops to ensure that we don't go green to red, right? So we're doing the complete opposite of what everybody else is doing. Everybody else, they set stop losses over here. We set profit stops to ensure that we don't go green to red. We move the profit stops higher to ensure that if the market has a move against our trade, we don't get back the overall gains of the trade, right? So that's why we move the profit stop up. And we're known for selling the moves, and we're known for holding for the massive percentage gains. So we're doing the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing. We're holding for the bigger wins. We're putting in less capital into the trades, right? Less capital into a trade means you're exposed to less risk. The way you make big gains with less capitals is big percentage gains, along with time on your side and compounding the account. So I just want to bring awareness to all this because, like I said, we're doing the complete opposite of what everybody else is doing. No stop losses, adding to winners, setting to profit stops. So for those of you serious about trying a new zero-day options trade alert system, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. It is going to take time to adjust to the overall platform. Like I said, we're doing the complete opposite of what everybody else is doing. This took over 10 years to figure out and master. So if you're serious about trying something new and trading alongside the best, like I said, we have 2 multi-millionaires in here who are alerting their trades. We have millionaires in here. They don't even say a word. They just follow the trades or use the trades to their advantage. Like I said, you can use our trades for educational purposes to see what it is that we're getting in along with what it is that I'm teaching you. You can use our trades to follow the overall trades. You can use our trades as a confirmation and confluence of, on your overall trades, right? So I just wanted to bring awareness to all this. In terms of this daily chart pattern, we're going to be setting up for a phenomenal green day, man. Going green tomorrow is going to be very, very simple. As simple as it was today, man. This is very, very simple, man. But you have to be disciplined and you have to trade the best setups at this prices. You have to use the confirmations at the levels. You see, that's what we do different. We understand that as a trader, you need a foundation. And one of the foundations that I have is a key level. Now, when you have a key level, you have to confirm, right, if it's going to work within your favor. You have to pick a side of that overall level, right? And the 30-minute candlestick patterns used as a confirmation at my foundation is what I've found to be working the best in that particular situation, right? So most traders, they go wrong because they have a deck of cards. They have patterns that work. They have indicators that work. But the problem is they don't have a foundation. That's the problem, right? Or they have the foundation and then they don't have the deck of cards to stack confirming the foundation. So with most traders, they experience one of the problems. They don't have a foundation, or they do have a foundation, but they don't have the confirmation, right? So I showed you how I came up with the foundation, how I came up with the levels. I showed you how I came up with the confirmations. I told you, use the 30-minute candlestick patterns that I've been teaching you. It was a trend reversal pattern at the previous closing price, along with the breakout and retest with the 30-minute bullish pattern that I identified today, right? So along with the breakout and retest and the gap and go, you get it, man. I have all the fucking cards within the deck. And that's what we do, man. We use a level as a foundation, and then we have a deck. We have all the cards within the deck. We stack as many cards as we can at that overall level. And if the confirmation is there, we enter the trade. Very, very simple. But you have to prepare to trade those setups. You have to seize the moment when there's a confirmation at your foundation, right? So you need a foundation and you need a confirmation at that foundation, right? So there has to be a formation, right? Foundation, formation, confirmation. Very, very simple, man. So like I said, we have systems that work. Our systems make us money. Our systems make other people money. It works. This is not going to work for everyone. For those of you who would like to try it out, like I said, the platform is working for many, many traders within the overall group. If you would like to experience it and try it out, it's the first link down below within the description. For those of you who watch this channel and you implement the game plans along with what it is that I'm teaching you to use at these levels, you should be self-sufficient and you should be able to make money before you even join the group. If you want to take it to the next level, it's the first link down below within the description. I can assure you without a doubt, we are going to absolutely crush it tomorrow. The market is setting up for very simple, predictable patterns, man. And you have to be aware of that. It's not always going to look like this. And when it doesn't look like that, you sit on the sidelines, you wait for traps to get created, you wait for it to become simple again, right? Unless you want to try to trade something that's more complex. Over here, we take simple concepts. Some people, they might look at it as more complex. We break it down, we simplify it as much as we possibly can, right? Because that's what a good trader and a good teacher does. And then we just trade the best setups at the overall best prices. We have the foundations, we have the levels, we have the confirmations, we have the card of cards, we have the whole fucking deck. Look, if you're serious about making money, click the first link, join the program. You're going to absolutely love it. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow within the chat. We're going to absolutely fucking crush it.